When you think about a photographer, who do you imagine? Is it a young female, very small, looking kind of childish, dressing pink? No? Seriously? Well, now imagine this girl in the middle of Milan Fashion Week, when there are so many photographers, so many males wearing black t-shirts, fighting, using their elbows to get the best shot, and there is this girl in her pink t-shirt with a tiny camera, small lens, and taking pictures from the floor where she could get the best shot of the models. Sounds like a scene from a movie, right? Well, that's my life. And let me tell you how I arrived there. My name is Aleksandra di Gesaro. I originally come from Poland, but now I live in Milan, Italy. I'm a fashion photographer, writer, and an entrepreneur. I originally graduated law back in Poland, but then I moved to Italy and I realized that the job market in Italy was completely different than the one in Poland. And for months I've been struggling to find a job. Every day I was spending hours, sending job applications that remained unanswered. And I was getting more and more depressed because I have 3 degrees, I speak 5 languages, and I still couldn't find a job. And when I didn't even get an interview for a secretary, I was like, okay, I'm done. That's enough. There's something not working here. So that's when I decided to pursue my dream career as a fashion photographer, because I thought, it can't go any worse than it already was going. So, but how do you start when you are living in a foreign country? You barely speak the language. You don't know anybody from the field. You live in a small town where there's no fashion, and additionally you are the opposite of what is usually considered as typical for photographers. Well, let me tell you what I've done. The only idea I had of how to start was to try Instagram. So I invested in a course, I bought it, I started studying, posting every day, searching for hashtags, etc. And actually a month later, I got this message that seemed surreal. It was from a fashion blogger from India, and she told me, "Hi, next week I'm coming for the Milan Fashion Week. Would you like to join me and take pictures of me, enter the shows with me, and take pictures backstage of the shows, take pictures of the models, etc." And I was like, yes, sure I do. It was my dream. And then I found myself a few days later taking pictures of Gigi Hadid, Kaya Gerber, and Jeremy Scott, and I was feeling like, wow, it's so amazing, it's so surreal, and it's a dream come true. Now, later, I really realized what I've done. And let's analyze it. So, if I would try to arrive to Milan Fashion Week using the traditional path of photography career, it would take me years and it would be very, very difficult. I would have to most probably start as an assistant of a photographer or work in a studio, which usually requires mostly carrying heavy equipment. And as you can see, I'm small and I'm an equipment minimalist because for me everything else is too heavy to carry. So also it would be quite difficult to get the trust of agencies and brands who send photographers to Fashion Week because of the way how I look. But I found this new branch, this new niche in my industry, which is blogger photography. And turns out that many influencers write me and they tell me, photographers usually don't understand what I need. I'm so glad I found you. And this way, if you notice, I turned something that was my complete disadvantage into an advantage. Because the fact that I'm young, that I'm a female, and that I started using Instagram makes me understand exactly what they need. Plus, these girls are usually my age or very similar age to mine, and so they feel much more comfortable having me around. I help them style the clothes, sometimes I help them change. They don't shy, they feel also more comfortable when we're taking pictures, and even sometimes when we need to travel, we can stay in the same room because we are both girls and we can really hang out like besties, like best friends going out for a cocktail after we've done the job. So something that seemingly made it impossible for me to succeed in the field actually became my biggest advantage and helped me get the job, get the position, and helped me start the career and build a career that I dreamed about, that I never really had an idea. Like, I could never expect anything like this would happen. So, okay, yes, I did it quite unconsciously. And you may think, well, it's something that accidentally worked for you and it will not work for me. Well, let me tell you another story. It's a story about my friend that is an actress. And she's actually much smarter than I was, because she's doing things consciously. So her problem is very similar to mine. She's even shorter than me. She looks very, very young. So for actors, it's a problem. I've talked to many actresses, and they told me, girls in their 20s it's very difficult for them for actresses, because they are too old to play teenagers, but they often look too young. They are not mature enough to play women. So this is really a huge problem, and that's what happens to my friend. But what she does, she's also in a group of stuntmen and stunt girls, where they do all these difficult movements, actions, fighting scenes in the movies, jumping, flying, all that stuff. And usually stuntmen or stuntwomen don't talk. They are only there to make those scenes full of effects, but they are not actors. And I found out from this friend that there is this very narrow group of people who are both actors and stuntmen. And this makes them, sometimes there's a need in movies that the stuntman would talk, like say a few lines, do also some acting. And this is exactly what my friend is doing. She's in this stuntman group, and so she's studying a lot how to do all those difficult, effective numbers and actions. But she also studies in an acting school, and she's really, really a great actress. So this way, she's positioning herself in this narrow niche and she's becoming an obvious choice in many cases. And the fact that she's so small is actually making it easier for her to do more difficult movements in those action scenes. So again, something that seemingly is her disadvantage suddenly is putting her in front of many, many competitors. And that's how she's building her career, which I think is really, really smart. So now, how can you find what is your advantage and how you can turn your disadvantage into an advantage? I prepared for you a PDF worksheet that you can download, and there I bring you through the process how you can find what you can do, how you can differentiate yourself. It may not come to you immediately, but at least thinking about it, you will notice that you start feeling and you start seeing things that you've never seen before. Or maybe you're already doing this and you didn't even realize, and now that you discover that this advantage that you have, you can maximize your potential even more. So download the worksheet. I hope you will find it useful. And if you have any questions or you'd like to contact me, you can always go to my website, that is creativeartist.online. I'm happy to answer every message and every email. And in the end, I just want to tell you that I really believe we can get anything that we want. We just have to find our unique way of how to get it, and showing how special each of us is going to help us get much more than if we would be imitating somebody else. So I hope you find this presentation inspiring, and I believe you can do it.